I'm here with Elaine Benson. Now, Elaine's in Australia, but just tell us, you're not Australian by birth, are you? Tell me a bit about what takes you to Australia.
Yeah, I am originally from Cork in Ireland. Moved to Australia 10 years ago. Came, as the usual story is, with a backpack for a year, and I'm still here 10 years later. Lived in London for 6 years before that, and then in Ireland. Things have changed quite a bit since I've been here. I have a son now, a 3-year-old boy. I'm a single parent. I'm Australia. I'm a citizen as well. I became a citizen on St. Patrick's Day 3 years ago, which was funny.
Really nice. And so I'm here in a woolly jumper and you're there in lovely summer clothes. So that's also the reason for this big disparity. We've connected because we've been talking a little bit about doing a festival in Australia. But I was really interested when we talked about the fact that you've changed your drinking, and part of your changing journey has been about your parenting. And as many people in Club Soda know, parenting is not my speciality. And so I really wanted to take the opportunity to explore that very important relationship for you. And so I wondered if you could tell us a little bit about your where your drinking was and what brought you to this space where you decided to change your drinking.
So I had my son in October 2016, and prior to that I had been for many years, like lots of people, questioning my drinking. You know, it was the social drinking out most Friday and Saturday nights with friends, a couple of glasses of wine at home maybe in the evening, nothing that would be considered major, I suppose. But it was having a detrimental effect on my health and my mental health in particular. I have endometriosis and I have depression and anxiety as well. So alcohol wasn't helping that. And then when I had my son, I had a period obviously of 9 months of being sober. And then when I had him and I started drinking again, I noticed how difficult it was to parent hungover. So I suppose when I had him, I had a bit of an awakening. I grew up in a culture where, you know, drinking was very normalized. Exactly. Very normalized, and drinking from a very young age, and drinking weekly from a very young age. So I never, I feel like I hadn't lived like in my adult life without drinking. So when I had Rory, my eyes opened somewhat, and I just realized that I didn't want that for him. I wanted to, you know, evolve from the same old habits that I had for years, and sort of break free from like drinking alcohol. Because when I was, you know, hungover with him, it was I couldn't cope. I couldn't, like, it was very difficult to parent. I just couldn't wait to hand him off to my ex-partner now. I couldn't really be present with him.
So what sort of drinker were you? Because you must have, particularly after you had your child, you must have been at home in front of the telly, this is mummy time drinker. Is that how it sort of slips in? And how do you manage to do that 9 months? And then how quickly does it build up afterwards? Does it become like that 9 months never happened?
Yeah, a bit actually. I mean, I think I had my first glass of wine about 2 weeks after he was born, and I actually got sick straight away. So like my body was just like, God, no, what's this? And yeah, you slip back into it pretty quick. So yeah, as soon as you get them into bed, you know, you've got having a glass of wine in front of the telly, and or having your nights out with your friends, which is only maybe once every couple of months, but you go completely mad, and you don't have an opportunity to recover because you're having broken sleep, and you are having to parent the next day. There's no rest period. So I find it it's called, I think the term is like gray area drinking, because I wasn't drinking, vodka out of a water bottle in the morning, but drinking the couple of glasses of wine at nighttime was just having such a detrimental effect that I wasn't coping with that. But because I wasn't an alcoholic, it was like, well, it's so normalized, it's a treat. Like, what's the problem, kind of thing.
And what's the thing that made you think, this has got to stop? Are there some series of events, or what was it that led to you coming to that conclusion? Because that's still, if you're not an everyday drinker, it is a harder conclusion to come to. It takes a little bit longer. How did that work for you?
So I had been thinking about it for a while, obviously years, and I was going through a separation. It was extremely difficult time at home. My endometriosis was very bad. It was really inflamed. I would spend a lot of time in bed, and with the drinking as well, it would just elongate that time in bed, hangovers, just not being present with my son, not seeing my son, just that cycle of drinking and being hungover. And there was a tipping point for me where I had a particularly big night, a work night out, my Christmas party a year ago, actually. And 2 days later, we traveled like 5 hours up the coast to our Christmas holiday. And it was like 35 degrees. It was so hot. There was lots of traffic, and I was extremely hungover, and so was my ex-partner. And I just had a panic attack in the car. I couldn't breathe. I just couldn't stop crying, shaking, and my son was just sitting there watching on. And I was like, I did this, like, this is self-inflicted almost. So when I eventually got to the holiday house, I sat in the bedroom by myself, like trying to calm myself down. And I remember like just looking up, like just saying to the universe, like, please make this stop. And I promise I'll never drink again. But I did drink again on Christmas Day. I had a glass of wine, and that was my last drink. So I will be a year off the booze.
And how did you decide that after that one drink on Christmas Day, what was the decision? How did you go there? What did you make a goal? Was it conscious? Where did you go from there?
I just said, I don't want to feel like this anymore. I know there's a better way. I just so I didn't make a goal. I just said I'm not drinking anymore, and I didn't drink for about 2 months after that. And about 2 months after that, I was getting the cravings again for alcohol. So then I decided I'm going to join some of the closed Facebook groups, like Soberistas and The Unexpected Joy of Being Sober, and I joined 1 Year No Beer as well. Just so I could be surrounded by other people who were also on the same journey as me. And then a few months after that, I set up Soberhood, which was it's a blog where I am sort of documenting my journey, but also trying to normalize. And initially it was to try and keep me accountable, but now it's more of a trying to normalize and grow the awareness that there's another way.
And so I'm really interested. So you managed 2 months, and it sounds like the ambivalence crept in. Actually, you began to think, well, maybe it wasn't that, you forgot how bad it was, and all of that sort of stuff. It's a very normal period of time.
Yeah.
Just talking through that. Wait a minute. We'll start that again. So just thinking through that period, that 2 months, what was beginning to happen, and why did you end up drinking again?
Um, so I had thoughts about drinking. I didn't actually drink. Um, I think, yeah, as you said, it felt like it wasn't that bad. What would I, how do I treat myself now? After a stressful day, how do I wind down? So I kind of didn't have those tools to hand.
You'd
And I
done it on willpower up until that point.
Yeah, exactly. And just willpower, and I just had such a bad time at Christmas that I didn't want to anyway. But yeah, then I listened to This Naked Mind. I listened to The Unexpected Joy of Being Sober, and just listened to a few Quit Lit books, and it kind of gave me the tools to know how. So in the evenings, I'll have an alcohol-free drink, or I'll have some nice food or nice chocolate, and replacing going out, with other things like yoga and meditation, and trying to find my tribe, really, who are also alcohol free.
And I love that. Because often we think, once you've got a couple of months under your belt, it's all going to be perfect. But actually, after a couple of months, you hit that ambivalence point, and instead of drinking, you realise that you needed a bit more to get to bolster you going forward. And I like that approach, because it isn't a linear journey. And just because you've got 2 months under your belt, you have by no means got it licked yet. And so
Yeah.
I really admire that ability for you to be able to pause and reflect and go, okay, I need to add some padding in here.
Yeah, I knew I didn't want to go back to the way things were. And, even now, I'm a week away from being a year sober, which I'm so proud of. But even now, it's difficult. I still get cravings, and I still, find it challenging. But it's the benefits outweigh those cravings.
So at that 2 month point where you began to bolster yourself a little bit more, how much then did the relationship with your son and you as a parent become forefront? Was it always there, or how did that begin to develop and evolve?
I think I was a lot calmer, a lot more able to cope with any like tantrums and things like that. A lot more present, more playful. I noticed like a change in his behavior. He again was, the tantrums were shorter. He was a lot happier. I feel like now even though it's still very challenging being a parent, and I'm not perfect by any means, and I still mess up all the time, the recovery period is quicker. I'm able to see that I'm doing my best as a parent. I couldn't do that when I was in the drinking hungover cycle.
And what I'm interested in is did you, when you first, was it a very conscious element of you changing your drinking, and then has this come as a surprise that this change is this what you expected from changing your drinking in terms of your parenting?
Yeah, no, not at all. Like, I always thought that, because I felt it was so difficult previously, I thought, this is parenting, it's extremely difficult, you definitely can't do it hungover, but now it just feels more natural. I think, like, you can only parent from your own level of awareness, or your own, you kind of have to give to yourself first the love and acceptance that you want to give to your child. And I think, like, the biggest act of self-love that I could do for myself at that time and continues to be is not to drink, because I want to model for him how I the life that I want for him, how relationships should look, how to deal with stress, how to deal with difficult emotions, without kind of reaching for the bottle.
And in some of your writing, you talk very much about the fact that you're having to learn those things for yourself too. And in some respects, that allows you to be able to see your role as a parent through somebody who's learning some of those things too. Would that be a good characterization?
Yeah. I think you're like, children obviously are just like sponges and they pick up on everything. And it was such a stressful environment for him to be around previously. My partner and I were just casual drinkers, like a lot of parents, which is fine. But the drinking hangover cycle, and the stress around that, was stressful environment, and you could see that he was that was showing in his behavior. Whereas now he's just, he is a total reflection of how we are. Like, I'm much happier, much calmer, just there for him and able to be with him when he has a meltdown, and
Yeah, and I think, the one thing I've learned about myself is all of the emotional stuff that I locked away behind a drink before. So I now learn how to deal with my emotions and my tantrums and my impatience and my behaviour. Are you doing the same? Is that a really important part for you?
Yeah, I mean, this year, if you'd told me at the start of the year, if I'd written down at the start of the year all the ways that I might potentially grow or what I might accomplish, I would have been selling myself short. I feel like alcohol was kind of stunting my emotional growth for many years. And now finally I feel like things are moving. I'm having these realizations about who I am, and oh, okay, that's a tantrum in myself, or that like kind of being more aware of how things sit with me. And it's very, like, it really helps you evolve as a person, emotionally and spiritually as well. Having that space and that time to actually kind of invest in yourself.
Yeah, it's even being able to, an emotion happens, and before you just would have shrugged it off because you were foggy headed. Now you're able to go, wow, that's an emotion, and where's that come from? And oh wow, it's always been there, and how am I going to deal with this? That was one of the most fascinating things for me.
Yeah. Meditation is a massive part of my journey. Like, I meditate every day, and just being able to notice an emotion sort of rise up in you and go, okay, I'm going to decide, like this. I mean, this might happen once out of every 20 times, but like being kind of able to decide how to respond with that, Yeah,
absolutely. And you don't need to do meditation to get that. You just, it becomes one of those things that you have time to notice just generally in yourself, and then begin to challenge yourself. And I certainly feel I'm a more patient person, even though I'm still not very patient compared to some people, but I'm definitely more patient than I used to be, and I don't fly off the handle so easily and all of that sort of stuff. So
same as me.
And I mean, it's a year on, but do you feel that all of those things that were hardwired in your brain because of alcohol, do you think they're all gone now and that's it, you can put it aside? Or do you still get triggers? Do you still get difficult days? Are there still days when you think about drinking? How does that manifest itself?
Yeah, definitely. It's been a really tough year, like becoming a single parent, moving into my own apartment, supporting myself, and quitting drinking as well. Excuse me. And all my family or my main support network, I suppose, are in Ireland. So there's been a lot of or many times where I've been, I suppose, sad and lonely and tired and exhausted, and there's sort of the times where you're like, I just want to have a drink because it'll numb it out, you know. But I something, it's just stops me. I still am able to stop myself because I don't want the hangover feeling, but also I know from like 20 plus years experience of numbing out that it just delays the pain. It doesn't actually help it go away. So I'm sort of learning now to, you know, when I am feeling that way, to sort of sit with it and investigate it a bit. Where is it coming from? This sadness or this loneliness, and also maybe I just need a nap, or maybe I just need to eat, or maybe I just need, you know, sort of doing that instead of reaching for a drink. And I think it'll always be there, you know.
I mean, it's an interesting discussion point, because people say to me, well, how long does it take? And I would say 3 years was the absolute point of time when suddenly it stopped feeling so hard. But I still get points in time when I get a thought, and I'm just, now it's curious, wow, I've just had a drinking dream, or I'm feeling a bit uncomfortable today because everyone else is drinking and I'm not. They are thoughts, they're not orders, right? But it still surprises me, and I guess I want to reassure people that the time is worth it, but it does take time, right?
Yeah, it does. It takes time, and it takes choosing, you know, the different option instead of choosing the drinking option. But as well, what I would say to people is, you know, be compassionate with yourself. If you do have a slip up and you do have a drink, just get back, you know, back on the wagon. And you know, what you're trying to do is be nice to yourself now, treat yourself better, be more compassionate with yourself instead of choosing the destructive route. So just
because often when we slip up, when we've changed our drinking, we punish ourselves for having been so stupid and so bad. But actually, we're trying to do something difficult. So actually treat yourself nicely, and then pick up where you left off.
Yeah.
And just accept that this is part of a learning process. I mean, it's really difficult. I spent all yesterday feeling guilty that I didn't run, because I've managed to get the running going again, and la 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 la. And you know, I wanted to punish myself, and I had to work really hard to go, you know what? You can run tomorrow and it's okay. Don't sit feeling guilty about it all day.
Yeah, exactly. It's you know, you're building that muscle, you know, of going easy on yourself. You know, you can run tomorrow, and you know, you're very busy, you know, you've got a full-time job, like you've got all these other things, and it's choosing the compassion and empathy for yourself is when you sort of start building that strength.
Can I ask about your endometriosis? Oh God, I can't say it now. Endometriosis.
It is a mouthful.
Is that better now? Is that improving as a result of not drinking?
Yeah, definitely. Like it's I'm in a lot less pain, a lot less inflamed. For anyone who doesn't know, endometriosis is when the lining of your womb essentially grows outside of your womb. So then anytime you menstruate, you essentially bleed sort of everywhere. So it was, you know, on my bowel, on my ovaries, and all that kind of stuff, and it was extremely painful. I am also on a drug to help with the growth of that, so it's sort of like a contraceptive pill, but not really. But just hardly any pain, just no pain. And you know, I would have, you know, 2 weeks out of the month where I'd be in pain, or I'd be very nauseous, and my lifestyle didn't help with that.
And that's not just the alcohol. Was there other things that you've managed to improve?
I definitely have. Well, I mean, I'm exercising a lot more now, which is great, but I also am able to exercise because I'm not hungover, you know.
Well, this is the the thing around not drinking gives you consistency in the other things you want to change in your life. And so for me, that's really interesting. When I've got an underactive thyroid, when I was drinking, I would always forget to take my thyroxine, and there'd be evenings I'd go to sleep without brushing my teeth and all of those things. I would hardly forget to do those things at all anymore. So suddenly I have got consistency in other areas of health. And I guess that's why I ask, you know, in which ways does changing your drinking help that? Because it may not have been a direct cause, although it does inflame. Alcohol does cause inflammation. Are there other things around that consistency that help?
It's a domino effect, you know. I really believe that because I've stopped drinking, it, you know, all these other areas of my life have improved. You know, my mental health has improved, my physical health has improved. I've been able to exercise more. I love, excuse me, reading, and I love learning about the human condition, and that's, you know, I've been able to spend time doing that and learning more, which is great.
Your brain being awake again, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. And one thing as well, I've started dressing my bed. I never used to make my bed, and I used to take pride in that. And I just started making my bed, and I was like, what is going on? But I think it's just, you start taking care of yourself. You start being you start to parent yourself, you know?
Are there some really early top tips that people can take, things that really worked for you to help you in the early days? What worked?
Yeah, definitely listening to some quit lit, as they call it. So I like to listen on Audible, but I also bought the books, read them a few times. But downloading books like your new book, which is out soon, How to Be a Mindful Drinker.
Your book is amazing because there's so many different voices in it. You're going to have to listen to it.
Great, yeah. So there's your one, and then there's This Naked Mind, The Unexpected Joy of Being Sober. There was a few Bryony Gordon books, which were really good. So I listened to those. Definitely join some Facebook groups, so you can start surrounding yourself with people who are in the same boat as you. Yeah. And another thing was to download an app like I Am Sober, or one of those apps where you can start counting the days that you're sober and also the money you save and the time you save, so that you can kind of treat yourself with that money. But also watching the days add up is really great, and hitting the milestones. And having a list of reasons as well, as to why you're doing it. You know, my list of reasons were, I find life less stressful and less painful without hangovers, and the depression and the rage and anger that came from that. And for my son, I just want to be the person and mom I want to be. I couldn't be when I was drinking.
Yeah, and I think those are really important, even if they come as a result of the first stages of changing your drinking. Be able to hold on to those, because they're not things like weights on a scale or days that tot up. They are emotional and they're feeling things. And if you don't make a note of them somewhere, you'll forget that you've gained them.
Yes. Yeah. You'll forget how far you've come.
Yeah. And on those days when you may slip up or things may feel hard, remembering the things you've achieved so far, and they're not, this time hasn't been wasted just because you've drunk once in 2-3 months, that is still there, that is something you've gained, is really important.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think, it's really lovely that you've got to a year. Christmas Day is actually a day for self-care. If there's any gift you can give yourself, that's changing your drinking is one of them. So well done.
Yeah.
And we look forward to speaking to you again.
Yes, great. Thanks a million, Laura.